I would have to say that the first thing that everybody should do is to quit making this such a life or death thing. And you're thinking, well, I mean, isn't it life or death? Here's the deal. The first thing I guess I should say is people do not realize how powerful their thoughts really are. And people also don't take accountability for that fact because they literally do not believe it. But the thing is it's garbage in, garbage out. So I'd have to say, I guess the first big thing is really understanding that everything that you say means something. Every thought that you think and give play to means something. And then everything that you input, everything that you take in that's input to you, that in turn solicits a response or an emotion or a feeling, is also real. And I think people's biggest problem is that they don't realize how real it really is. So, if you're poor, you've always been poor, your family is poor, you'll always be poor. All of those things, especially if like you related to any of that, or you're like, yeah, that's your reality. You speak it the truth. You think it the truth, even if you don't physically utter the words. Your thoughts alone, that when you think that thought, an emotion is felt in response, and that emotion just makes that concrete reality. So the same can be said for when you think good things. And this is where it tends to get a little tricky. Because people say, well, I do. I think all the time. I want this, I want that, and I want all this in my life. And I'm still poor. And there lies the problem. Because you got to be committed to the thought. In other words, your statement that says, I'm poor, I'm broke. Okay, that's your reality. And everything around you supports that reality. Therefore, you 100% without a doubt believe that to be your reality. So you don't go around saying statements like, I'm so broke, and then say anything contradictory to that. You really don't. Like, when that is your reality, everything you say, think, feel is around that. I can't even think of like an example that can make sense. Like, you don't have a feeling of I'm broke along with the well-being of abundance. Do you know what I mean? That reality is the reality. So you can't merely just say and think nice things all the time and then expect to wake up to a pot of gold. It doesn't work that way. We'd all be lottery ticket winners if that were the case. So how does it change? Really, it's bigger than the getting of things. really bigger than the getting of things. The reason I say it's bigger is because if you just sat there and rented a movie and it started out with like 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the beginning and then went right to the last scene and then the credits, you would hate that. You would hate that. In the same respect that there's a process that if you are in the right frame of mind and not in resistance to it, the whole movie plays out and then leads you to that ending that makes sense and fulfills you. It's not a thing of saying, oh, so it's just about feeling good and then you don't want it no more. No, it's really, really not. And that's why I don't think it's a good idea to take any of this from that approach. I don't want to teach people how to get stuff, because that'll never make you happy. That'll never give you inner peace. I want to teach people how to get the inner peace, and then things come into their lives that just make them even happier. Circumstances just always tend to go their way. That is the real magic. You get stuff all the time. This past week, I guarantee you bought something for yourself to make yourself feel good. Or you can think of anything you bought, your last big purchase that you bought. How good do you feel now? The car you're driving, I mean, that's not where the beauty is. The beauty is when you can live your life, and life is gonna always keep happening. That's not anything that changes. There's not like this magic that happens that all of a sudden you hit like the easy street to life. Life will always happen. That's what life does. Life happens to you, me, and everyone. One thing that will happen, and I promise you this, is you'll grow a lot more empathetic and you'll learn that life is happening. But you just won't be so egocentric to where it's just you. You realize that life is happening to all of us equally at the same time. And when you get to the point of not attacking this from a material one, but from how do I obtain, instead of a temporary material high, how do I obtain a long-term spiritual peace? And when you work from that angle and you find that peace, and you can find that peace, then everything else starts happening around it. And even before that starts happening, you're so much happier. And here, I'll give you a caveat to all of this for those of you who still think, there's just, I just want the stuff, and you're like, screw the peace, I just want the stuff. Fine. If you just want the stuff, you can never attract or create or manifest, or however you've heard it or it's been said, anything with that mindset of wanting stuff. If you're thinking in your head right now, I just want the stuff, or yeah, this part too, but I really want the stuff, and you're focused on the stuff coming, the stuff will always be coming. That's how important your every thought, every word is. That's how this creative process works. See, this is going to be kind of a sidebar, but it's kind of important. Your ego is not the enemy it keeps getting painted out to be, okay? What your ego is your ego is the glasses, the physical perspective of your soul. It is the viewfinder, if you will. It is the eyes of the soul. Okay? And depending on how our ego is shaped, depends on the perspective or the filters on this viewfinder, on this eye to the soul. Henceforth, that two people can see one piece of art, and one person can think it's beautiful, and the other person can think it looks like a turd. That's just an example. Same thing with your soul. Some people can see some situation in lack, others can see it in potential, in peace. Others may not even see the potential, but they can see the peace, the well-being, you know? All this stuff comes too. It does not come with just question and answer. In other words, like, all these answers you already have, and you kind of already know. It's just when you slow down. Like, have you ever seen, or you've heard the story of someone who's drowning in the water, and they're drowning and they're just flailing frantically because they're drowning. So they're freaking out. Oh, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. And the thing is, that person that's flailing around drowning is almost impossible to save. Because A, they're panicking, so all of their moves are irrational and counterproductive. In other words, the flailing does nothing to long-term keep them afloat. And B, they make it where no one else could ever help them. Whereas if they were to relax and listen to their body, and maybe see how the water moves, and then all of a sudden they're moving, then they could stay afloat a little bit longer. And I know I'm kind of going a little bit far with that, but that's the thing. All of these crazy negative thoughts are that crazy panic of the ego that creates a irrational response. In other words, even though it makes sense in your head, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And you see that as you can look back on things that you thought made sense and how you reacted, and now you're like, a little bit wiser. That's the way it always is. The further you go along with this, the better you get, okay? So, I don't know what the main focus of this was, but, well, I guess we'll figure it out when I edit it. Just remember that. Your thoughts are very, very important. I think the next video I want to do is going to be on how influential the outside world potentially is. Because a lot of people don't realize the damage that's done. So, all right. I appreciate you. I love you. It's beautiful talking to you. These are going to go up on YouTube. So if you do like and subscribe, there's going to be more coming. I guarantee one video at least a week. One at least. Possibly more. We'll see how the channel goes, but one a week at least. Any questions, any hang-ups, triggers, anything that you'd like to hear being discussed, definitely leave it in the comments. It's an open forum. Anything you didn't like, leave it in there as well. You know, like I said, my beliefs are mine. I'm not pushing anything on you. But if it resonates with you, that's all I ask. All right, love you guys.